Welcome to the coast of England. These are the beautiful white cliffs of Dover, and beyond how beautiful this is, it always takes me back to a classic paradox. Just how long is the coastline of Britain? This was a question posted by mathematician Benoit Mandelbrot in 1967. In this paper, Mandelbrot examined the concept of what would become known as the Coastline Paradox. The idea is that the smaller the length of measurement, the longer the measured length. Put simply, if you measure the coastline of Britain in 100 kilometer units, well, then the coastline of Britain is around 2,800 kilometers. But if you were to use, say, 50 kilometer units, the total length is about 3,400 kilometers. And on, and on, and on. The smaller you get, the total length increases to hundreds of thousands of kilometers at some point, and the ultimate answer is, of course, well, there is no answer. You can't know. It's infinite. The measurement unit that we define is the standard measurement. And of course, because we humans define it, well, it's got a lot of room for interpretation and error. This is, of course, what makes measuring anything such a vexing problem. Even my use of kilometers just a second ago. For us Americans, we can have a hard time even envisioning this. Wait a minute, 100 kilometers? Well, what is that in miles? The answer? Just a little over 62. In 1999, NASA lost a spaceship to this very thing. The Mars Climate Orbiter was sent to the planet to enter low orbit and study atmospheric changes. Well, as it got close to the planet, it got too close to the planet and was destroyed, resulting in a $327 million loss. What was the problem? Well, one software system by NASA was using metric units, and the spacecraft builder Lockheed Martin, well, they were using imperial units. Miles, kilometers, potatoes, potatoes. What could possibly go wrong? Well, $327 million is the answer to that. We've always had a tough time deciding on standards for measurement. I mean, let's talk about the mile that Lockheed Martin was using for sending a spacecraft to Mars. In 1592, England's Parliament set the mile at 5,280 feet, or 8 furlongs. Since furlongs were 660 feet, we got 5,280 feet in a mile. And how did we get furlongs? Well, a furlong was based on the length of field a team of oxen could plow without resting. Today's mile is based on how much a team of oxen could plow in 8 days. That makes complete sense, right? Lockheed Martin sent a spacecraft to Mars based on its calculations on how much a field of team of oxen could plow in, let's see, doing my calculations here, 1 over the 7, carry the 8, 1,328 million days. What could possibly go wrong? Welcome to episode 4 of Marketing Makers, the series for those that make marketing work. I'm Robert Rose, and I'm your host. This month, we're talking about the return on investment in marketing. In a word, measurement. The science and, well, sometimes creative art of how we put all those arbitrary numbers together and tell ourselves a story about how we're helping our business to perform. And we'll have a sit-down chat with an extraordinarily talented marketer and entrepreneur to talk about today's measurement. So, let's get things started, and to do that, I need to get out of here and get back to our Marketing Maker Lab where we get everything going. Welcome to Marketing Makers. Oh, hi. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Marketing Makers Lab. It's here we explore in depth the background behind some of marketing's historical concepts and how they've evolved into some of today's most modern of marketing approaches. And today, well, you can see I pulled out one of my prized books. It's actually a first edition of The Management of Marketing Costs by James Culleton in 1948. Yeah, I'm geeky that way. You might remember in episode 1 of this series, we talked a little bit about the marketing mix and the 4 Ps, one of the most classic concepts in marketing. Well, this is the book that introduced the marketing mix and the 4 Ps. But the real point of this book, well, it was an exploration of measurement and marketing costs. And why I love this book so much is how Culleton introduces it. On the second page here, on the second page of the author's acknowledgement, he notes here, discovery of the fact that I could not find what I started out to seek, useful figure data on what companies spent for marketing, made the preparation of this book disturbing. He then goes on. He goes on from here in chapter 1 of his book with the subtitle, I Wish I Knew. And he concludes at the end of that chapter that the management of marketing and the management of marketing costs in particular is a job of what he called intelligent artistry. I absolutely love that, intelligent artistry. The job is not completely scientific, and many believe that simultaneously it never will be completely, but that it should be a little more than it is now. But emphasizing either the artistry or the intelligence to the detriment of the other would not yield true progress. I love that quote so much, and it's such a great thing. I think, well, here we are 75 years later, and I think James Culleton would appreciate that in 2021 we're in exactly the same place. We're still working on intelligent artistry as it pertains to marketing measurement. I mean, it's not as though we've suddenly lost some capability that we had in the 1960s when the Don Drapers of Madison Avenue roamed the earth. We've been talking about the struggle to find return on our marketing costs for as long as the practice has been around. You skip ahead all the way to 1988. Consider another comment from one of my other favorite marketing textbooks called Marketing Performance Assessment. On the topic of marketing's productivity, which was the big thing in the 80s, of course, it was said that marketing productivity is an elusive concept for scholars and practitioners. It's elusive because for as long as marketers have practiced their craft, they've looked unsuccessfully for clear, present, and reliable signals of performance by which marketing merit could be judged. So, in the inimitable words of the Spice Girls, what do we want? What do we really, really want? We really want the unbreakable algorithm for marketing investment science. And the truth is, we never get there. Interestingly, the idea of marketing as an actual investment is a really new development. The idea for what would be called ROMI, R-O-M-I, return on marketing investment, became really widespread in the late 1990s and early 2000s, just as digital technologies began to really offer more promise for more granular analysis of marketing-related transactions. And whatever acronym we use today, whether it's ROMI or ROI or ROC, return on customer, thank you Dr. Martha Rogers and Don Peppers, the goal has always been the same. In the simplest sense, get the biggest bang for your buck. So to take it all back to Culleton, our job being the mixer of ingredients of marketing, the maker in the marketing mix, has been to come up with all the tasty cocktails, but do so in the cheapest way using the cheapest ingredients that we could possibly find. But here's the trick. This moves us very distinctly toward one very specific objective: efficiency. Efficiency is a very specific idea. It's a simple ratio. It's the useful output to total input. In other words, P over C, where P is the amount of useful output, the product produced, per the amount of C, cost, of resources consumed. And so, this measurement works out just fine if you consider marketing a simple cost in the overall investment of a business's success. But only thinking of traditional marketing and advertising as the cost portion in an investment, it's a bit like thinking about how the cost of gasoline provides the return on the investment in your career. It's the first part of that equation that makes it difficult. And it's where we go right back to our how long is the coastline of Britain paradox. What are you measuring? If we measure the cost of all the gallons of gasoline we might have ever had to purchase against the investment in the success of our career, well, then any 1 or 3 or 10 of those gallons of gas might seem wildly unprofitable and, quite frankly, encourage us to stop investing in gasoline altogether. But if we measure it against a tank of fuel, or a month's worth of fuel, or a fuel efficiency we achieve by telecommuting 1 week per month, well, the equation might turn out quite differently. Stack enough of those activities together, and you can justify buying fuel as a core cost of getting to work on time. A campaign-focused marketing and advertising mix is stacking all those activities together over time to grow success. Each new marketing and advertising campaign is a new tank of gas in your transportation strategy, or rather a new set of activities in your business strategy. Balancing all those tanks of gas and measuring those activities from the right height is all what our friend James Culleton would call intelligent artistry. So, we manage those activities as costs. They are the ingredients in our marketing mix product, and we want to produce them as efficiently as we possibly can. And we want to view efficient production of those activities at the right altitude to ensure we all agree on the same standards. So, there's another side of this marketing measurement coin that goes beyond efficiency, however, and perhaps we can demonstrably show how we marketers can grow value by investing something, an asset, that will or might increase in value over time. What I mean by that is, if our marketing efficiency is a simple ratio, P over C, where P is the amount of useful output, the activity like buying media or campaigns or events, per the amount of C, cost, resources consumed, and our campaign cost is like that gasoline, media, physical space, wages, creative thinking, all of that stuff, that everybody pays for and that we have no real control over, well, then our effort becomes to get the best of those things and make the most of those things. But what if the output, the product, is different? What if it's an asset that once created provides ongoing value with decreasing levels of investment over time? Put simply, what if on one hand we can decrease costs, and on the other hand we can actually increase the overall value of a product? What if we were to think about the other half of marketing as developing a product, an asset, not just a series of campaigns? This is at the heart of what we call content marketing. When we think about the return on investment of content marketing, we think about how we're actually creating an asset, an audience that will increase in value over time, not just simply disappear, and provide ongoing values as the costs in relation to the value of the product decreases. All of that will continue to go down as a percentage. Let me give you an example of this. If Frontline Software had looked at the value of a digital blog or digital magazine in the first weeks of its existence and measured it day by day by day, it's not going to be terribly exciting to hear about. But after developing its Frontline Research and Learning Institute content product as part of its overall marketing investment, well, the company sees marketing exceed its goals, generate 32% of the company's new business in the first year, and 195% increase to its click-to-open rates for its marketing email program. Or, for example, we might look at the value created by Monster.com and how it balanced its other marketing and advertising efforts with a content product called the Career Advice Center. In the first year, we might argue it's really wonderful value, but it was modest when the site took life, which took real budget, by the way, to launch. And if we measured it in that short time, we might not see the value. But after we see a few 100,000 page views and we start to see it grow and grow and grow by the end of the second year, when it drives 48,000 new leads, 22% of which are acquired organically, and creates a $3 million efficiency on paid media, well, we can start to see that we're measuring from the right height and that the balance has truly been realized. As a business manager, You only have two fundamental ways to make the company more valuable. You can drive more revenue, or you could create more efficiency. And from a measurement perspective, campaign-based marketing is almost always focused on creating efficiency and saving the organization money. From a content marketing-based perspective, the business manager's efforts are focused on creating effectiveness in content products, fueled by audience engagement that provides increasingly profitable efforts that make the revenue for the organization and puts it into its coffers. Marketing campaigns are a cost that provide value at a moment in time, a tank of gasoline. The content marketing opportunity and why it should be measured using an asset-focused is an investment that, if done well, provides increasing value over time. The key to both is finding the right altitude or measurement for all of those approaches. How valuable is your marketing strategy? Well, it depends on what altitude you measure it from. So, how do you find that right altitude for either of those approaches? Well, one technique that we've seen be very successful is what we call the measurement pyramid. Now, the measurement pyramid works like this. We start with a goal, and a goal is simply defined. It is an investment value achieved toward the effort of a shared purpose. Put very simply, driving $10,000 of net new revenue is a goal. Now, that goal will also have a timeline put on it as well, the altitude. It might be 1 month, it might be 1 year, but this timeline is what helps us determine our cruising altitude for how we'll best measure the progress toward that goal. So let's say our goal is $10,000 of net new revenue in 1 year. We can then add the second part of our pyramid, which are our KPIs, our key performance indicators. These are the measuring sticks that we will all agree on, the altitude, the measurement length that we are actually using as the standard of measuring toward the progress of achieving our goal. These are our rulers. As we measure our coastline of $10,000 of net new revenue, we need to know how we're doing along that way. So our KPIs are a set of unique measurement and aggregate measurements that inform our progress toward the essence of that investment purpose. So this might be everything from average conversion rates to the number of leads, the quality of those leads, the revenue per customer, etc. List out all the KPIs we might want to list out. And again, the timing is our altitude here. How often do we need to review these KPIs in order for us to help us course correct toward our goals? In our particular case, well, it might be monthly or weekly or daily. It all depends on the timing you set for each goal. Now, the last part of the measurement pyramid is what we call metrics. This is the more granular measurement to help us understand the accuracy of our KPIs. In other words, it helps us adjust our cruising altitude. This is the more granular measurement that individually may help us manage or course correct or enhance or achieve or optimize any of those KPIs that we're looking at. Why we call these metrics is because that they don't necessarily reflect any one particular goal, but rather one moment in time to help us improve our process. And so you can list out all the detailed actions and conversions that will help us determine what needs to be true for our metrics so that we can start asking those very questions, including the questions we may not know the answers to today. Does more traffic need to be true in order to reach our goal? Maybe. List it. Does more conversions to existing traffic need to be true? Well, almost certainly. Do we need better content? Do we need to test creative? Do we need to get better paid media? Do we need to spend less on PR? Listing out all the things that we will track. Ultimately, this gives us a very organized and discrete set of measurements that will help us utilize all of the things that we need to utilize in order to achieve that very specific goal. And you can assemble a measurement pyramid for each of the goals that our marketing team or content team has. Okay, so this is a key piece of the measurement approach that can help you at least start to understand your journey and help to balance your intelligent artistry of marketing measurement. So what can we expect from the future of measurement? Are we waiting for artificially intelligent robots to help us predict the future or process more information or get more than we can ever hope to get? Maybe. Let's talk about that in just a moment. But what I'd like to do now is get on to the next segment of our show, and it's time to go into the field and learn how this is actually getting done from someone who's actually doing it, a marketing maker who's making marketing measurement work and has been doing it for some time.